Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this presentation. In this essay I'd like to talk about something that's particularly going on in Australia, but it's a worldwide issue, and that's the battle, if you like, the struggle, the name calling that the Australian government is having with Elon, Musk and Twitter, or X as it's now known, and the threats the government's been making and various politicians have been making against X, against Mr. Musk, and fines have been threatened, and even up to and including suggesting or implying that Twitter X employees or even Mr. Musk himself could be arrested and so on. Now, there's a lot of hot air going around, so it may be a little bit difficult to separate some of this from the facts, but there's been, because it's been such a controversy at the moment, there's been a number of articles in the media, particularly the left media, really hitting it hard in order to justify why they're the good people and why Mr. Musk and X are the bad guys, and we've got to control the bad guys. And so I just want to talk about those articles, and there's several of them, and the points they raise. Now, what I think is censorship, the globalist leftists, remember the globalists funded using the leftists as foot soldiers, the globalist leftists say, no, this isn't a free speech issue, this is all about hate speech and oppression, and they go straight off down the ideological path. Facts and these sort of things, did something happen or not, was it accurately represented in a factual sense? No, don't care, none of that matters. This is a wider ideological issue, and they appear to genuinely believe, well, certainly the foot soldiers, I'm sure the puppet masters think differently, but at least the foot soldiers, the activists masquerading as journalists, the NGO placard wavers, those sorts of people, they see it very, very ideological, and I can't understand why anybody doesn't see it their way, and they believe they are the guardians of goodness, and it's just everyone else that has to be brought to heel, brought to book, be controlled. And you could say this about anything, like in the divorce courts, it's the straight men must be controlled. They are the one to be controlled. Everyone else can misbehave to whatever extent they want. It's the men that have to be controlled. And we can see the same in, say, the immigration debate. It's white people that have to be controlled, particularly men. And we see the same here in this sort of media or information in public domain debate. It's the particularly white people who have to be controlled. And Mr. Musk is white, he's straight, so he's a classic example of the sort of people that must be controlled. Now, having a look at some of these articles, and this will help understand, I think, at least the thinking on the other side of the aisle, or the other side of the debate. Now, these articles begin with social media. It's social media control. It's not censorship. It's just the good people trying to bring the evil Nazis, straight white males and so on, to heel, to book. It's us having to stop them from doing bad things. We're the good people. We can do what we want. They're the bad people, and they're the ones that have to be controlled. Now, straight away you look at it and go, what? But there's actually a lot of people, the ideological brigade, that think, oh, no, that's right. They're the Nazis. And they don't see this as a free speech issue. They see this as we're stopping hate. Now, they don't define hate, and they don't define the things they're trying to stop. It's sort of a wider, just an ideological miasma, but this is the direction they go in. So here's the various strident leftist activists are quoted in these articles, but they're again, the giveaway is they're not billed as straight white. They're not billed as activists. They're not saying, well, far left activist so and so says. But anyone who, should they even mention it at all, which is fairly rare, if anyone on the other side, so they'll say far-right conservative, known Trump sympathiser, former neo-Nazi, or they'll do the full denigration attack on the... So their point of view is worthless. But they don't do the same thing to people that are supporting the view that the position that the articles are arguing. The articles are extremely partisan. They're not media articles. They're just straight out propaganda in support of leftist positions, and again, very hostile to Mr. Musk and X. So any attempt to control or bring Elon Musk under control and get him to do whatever the leftists want, anyone doing that, particularly if it's a female, is cast as a stunning and brave, fighting back against the fucking evil Nazi empire. Whoa! Which is, of course, utterly absurd. But there's someone who's very prominent in the censorship industry in Australia who's a former Democrat Party in the US flunky and a World Economic Forum stooge, and they're the ones really, at least they're out front, leading the charge against X and Elon Musk, and they're cast as this stunning and brave, completely impartial, when there's absolutely nothing impartial about them, in my view at least. So they're stunning and brave social justice warriors trying to stop this terrible evil, this all-pervasive evil. Now, what are these evils? So, what is it exactly they're trying to censor? And it's not obvious that we're trying to stop hate, we're trying to stop Nazis, we're trying to stop Hitler. And so they rave all about that, but they don't actually say, well, specifically, what are you trying to stop and why? What are you trying to censor and why? Why is it not something that tramples across free speech? So if you can sort of tease it out by really reading between the lines. Now, here's one example. A brown Islamic man committed a crime against a Christian guy. Okay, so now there's footage going around the internet or on social media landscape generally that shows this guy attacking, this brown Islamic guy attacking and making Islamic statements and so on, attacking this Christian. Now, that did happen. No one is disputing the facts. There is no dispute whatsoever of the authenticity of the footage or its factual accuracy. No disputing that at all. But what they're saying is that, well, this person comes from a group that doesn't have maximum social, ideologically determined, doesn't have maximum social power. We ideologically have decided that. Because they don't have maximum social power, only straight white males have that, because they don't have maximum social power, then we shouldn't cast them in a negative light. Now, if they've done something illegal and broken the law and and it's and the video or the footage going around social media is accurate and true, no one's disputing it, but nonetheless it's creating stereotypes and social tensions, and because of that we should prevent that video, that footage from being seen by anybody. If we pretend that it didn't happen, then we can avoid the social tension that would come from admitting and knowing that it happened. So all the other media outlets that the globalists control have taken that footage down, but it's only Elon Musk and Twitter or X that's allowing it to be seen. Therefore, he is Mr. Musk and X. This is by extension, ideological argument. By extension, because he's allowing that footage to be seen, he is allowing stereotype and negative depiction of a minority. And the only people that would do that are ones who are racist. And if you're a racist like that, that means you're a fascist. And if you're a fascist, and this is their escalation of ideology, if you're a fascist, you're a Nazi. If you're a Nazi, you're Hitler, and da-da-da. So that's the, so only the greatest evil, or those who view the world and practice such great evil, would allow this to happen. Therefore, we, the good people, are morally justified because this is how you would treat Hitler, for goodness sakes. We're morally justified in whatever action. We are allowed to take any action we want because of the hugeness, if you like, of the bad behaviour. So, wow, is that how it goes? But again, we need to sort of understand here the neo Marxist racist structuring of these arguments. And I'll go back to there was a black man in Los Angeles, Rodney King. Some of you may have heard of the case, and we're talking a career criminal. Wouldn't stop for police. When police finally did stop him after a long and very dangerous car chase, he refused to be cuffed and didn't accept police directions, and he was fighting with them, and there was a scuffle, and they finally brought him under some sort of control and got him cuffed or about to cuff him. They continued to use force. So the argument when the whole thing got to court, the argument is, we accept he broke the law. We accept he fought, was punching and struggling with police. We accept he refused to follow police directions. We accept he committed crimes. We accept we accept all of those things. None of those things are in dispute. But what we say is, you were motivated, to the police, the white police, you were motivated by racism. So we can just forget about all the crimes that the black guy committed. Absolutely irrelevant. And we can just focus on your supposed or alleged motivation by racism. Now, just when someone says you're a racist, disprove it. It's not that easy to do, because the proof required to make the accusation is zero. So the bar of evidence is zero. So they're using that same ideological positioning here. Because you're showing that footage of the brown Islamic guy committing the crime, attacking the Christian guy, because you're showing that footage, it means that you're motivated by racism. And that means that you have to be shut down and stopped. We must control you because you have these racist thoughts. But how do you know we got racist thoughts? It doesn't matter. The bar of evidence required to hurl the accusation is all that's needed. Following that accusation, we're then allowed to bestow upon ourselves total control of what you do and what you say and what you think. So that's really the wider ideology that gets applied here. Now these people think they're righteous in the extreme. They are the good people, bringing the evil people under control, and they just can't fathom anyone looking at it in any other way, which is in itself. These people live in a fantasy world, for fuck's sake. So they don't see that they are censoring anybody. We're not censoring anybody. What are you talking about censoring? We're not censoring. We're just stopping hate. We're just stopping racism. We're stopping Hitler. So that's the, and you can imagine it's like the mentality of, and this woman who's the former, or currently she's still really a World Economic Forum globalist goon stooge flunky. When you listen to her, she talks like a 14-year-old girl. That same unaccountable, silly little bimbo-ish schoolgirl sort of attitude. Now there are other examples that we'll put up in these articles as I went through them. Another one was there were 5 black youths that had committed a number of crimes, and they're already at 17 years old, career criminals. But on the technicality that they're not 18 yet, the media did a complete shutdown, or no pun here, a complete blackout on disclosing that they were black and career criminals. So they're not 18, you're not adults, so we don't have to tell you who they are or give you any pictures or photographs. So there's been a wave of crime in certain rural areas that have a very low proportion of white people in them, and so in some places, including X, you can find information about this. Whereas the mainstream media, the global control media, have had a shutdown and a blackout on this. So you really, unless you're Australian and you knew that township is only 10% white, for example, unless you knew that, you would look at these articles and these media articles, and you wouldn't necessarily understand what was going on or be able to pick it up. But the reality is that these are very low. White people are an extremely low minority here, and the perpetrators and the people committing these criminal acts are definitely not white. But that's intended to be concealed. But it's I wouldn't say it's openly pushed on X, but certainly you can find out without too much trouble on X exactly what's going on, which is the news. But again, the position of the censorious crowd, if you like, the position isn't that it's inaccurate, or the media or the media coverage on X, at least they're not saying it's inaccurate. They're not saying that it's untrue. They're not saying that the information is inauthentic, or they're not saying that there's any inaccuracies or any propaganda type. Fiddling with the facts or the information. They're not saying that. They're saying, look, these people are a marginalised group. They therefore should not be held to the same standard as white people, as straight white males. They must be held to a much lower standard. So we can't say that they're really criminal, really, because we should hold them to a lower standard. And because they're a lower standard means they're less accountable. But because they're marginalised, they're already doing it tough. And so by pointing out in the media that these people are committing crimes and they're already career criminals at 17 or whatever, black people committing crimes. By pointing that out, we marginalise them. We make them feel bad about themselves. We cast aspersions over that community or that group or that race. And so stating the facts, declaring the truth, putting the truth out there is racist and therefore fascist, Nazi, that Hitler and that. So we have to stop people from doing that, and we have to stop media outlets from doing so. When people say it's a matter of free speech, we say it's a matter of hate, because in order to state the facts about this marginalised group, it must mean you hate them, and therefore you're a Nazi. So they again, that same sort of ideological loop goes around, and if the public, and the other side of it too is they believe the public is easily persuadable. So if the public are shown images, this is the viewing public are shown images of black people committing crimes, then this will either reinforce or create a stereotype that may not be true of everybody. Now the reverse isn't the case, because they say, well, just because 1% or 10% or 20% of, for example, the black population commit crimes, doesn't mean that everyone in the black population commits crimes. But well, sure, but we all know that, don't we? That's a statement of the obvious, sure, but they don't see it. Again, they come back to the ideological position. But people might think that all black people commit crimes, and we can't allow a situation where the viewing public might think that. We have to control what they think. We're allowed to control what they think, and if we don't control what the public think, then everyone will become a Nazi. Everyone will become Hitler. Everybody. So this is the infantile, nature of the fantasy world that these people live in, and the logic of the processes of logic that they take. Now, there's a number of people. They're just professional activists in one media group. They're waving placards about climate change one minute, and then women's rights the next, and then X has to be censored on the next day. So they're just professional activists, and it's so hypocritical, because one of them is a journalist for an activist outfit, and she gets paid, I think all packaged up about $400,000 a year. And I've seen her do interviews, and she's not she stays away. If there's a topic that she has no ideological interest in, then she's actually not a bad interviewer. But if she has any ideological interest at all, even a small amount, then she goes off the reservation, if you will, and just infuses the whole interview with, I'm the morally superior person interviewing Hitler, and she instantly jumps into that position. But she's got it's like she never left high school. She's just got this childlike, girly, little girly attitude about everything, and she's not accountable, and everyone else is accountable, but she's not, and this sort of stuff. So lives in a fantasy world there. But she perceives herself as just independent. And the stories that they write, the articles begin with, little Jane is still crying. Elon Musk made her cry. And they go down that path, and that's the opening to the article. So you can tell where that's going. But there's been, for every article that talks about free speech and its principle, there've got to be several more articles that talk about how X should be fined. The people should be arrested. Any action, any level of control is morally justified to bring these evil people to book. But that's the argument, and it's an interesting, because we see it really, say, this idea of separating fact and reality from ideology. this is something that when I first saw it. In fact, I was in Los Angeles at the time when that well, just after that Rodney King thing was going. I saw it on the, I was in the hotel room channel surfing. I saw it on the and I thought this must be some passing phase of insanity that was going through the America or the legal system in that case, where the facts don't matter, but an ideological sort of level of legal interpretation could be brought into the courtroom and allowed by the judge. So, okay, so he's a criminal, so he's a career criminal, so he committed the crime, so he did this, so he assaulted police, so he did it, but we don't care, because all of that doesn't matter if we can infer, not even prove, just infer that you, the cops, are racists. Then anything and everything you did against this black man was motivated by racism, not by any legal transgression. And of course, it's insane. The very notion of that's insane. But we see that now is really permeated everywhere, including, say, the trials of Donald Trump, where it's all ideological. It doesn't matter whether you did this crime or not. It doesn't matter whether you committed anything. It doesn't matter whether you made it up or not. It doesn't matter whether we stacked and rigged the evidence. It doesn't matter whether we stacked and rigged the jury. All of that's irrelevant because ideologically we've already decided you're the bad guy. So it becomes hugely prejudicial in its presentation and in its structure. And this is what, in my view, we're seeing with Elon Musk and X now. The fact that X had these things, this information about about crimes committed and so on, and they're clearly newsworthy and so on. This is but it's against the marginalised group. You're not allowed to do that. If you do it, you're a Nazi. That's bullshit. Now, if in the reverse case, if it's a white guy, the people are gagging. They can't wait to show the photograph of the white guy or say as much as they can so you can work it out. But their argument is, well, we're allowed to do that because the white people as a group have social power. So they say in the case of the black crimes, well, that's just one black person committing a crime, but that will cast aspersions over the whole of the black diaspora. So we have to stop that. We can't allow that to happen. Well, who says you fucking allow it or not? What do you mean? You're morally superior, you allow? I mean, piss off. But if it's a white guy, then that's not just an individual white guy. That's not an individual. That's a representative of all straight white men, all of whom are Hitler. So they jump around here. So they're certainly not consistent in their position, but they are ideological, and that's what comes across. And that's what I was able to tease out from these pieces, media pieces that I saw. As far as they're concerned, they're not committing censorship. They're just protecting minority groups from the harm that may come to them if the facts about the behaviour of some of these people are known. And so, they use a completely ideological position, determining which groups are victims, which are oppressors, what information is harmful and not, and this and that. So, completely ideological, but it's very much part of the globalist shtick. Remember, the globalists, in order to implement the globalist project, they must, in effect, dismember Western society, and they're certainly doing that. And part of that is the sort of ideological positioning of what's acceptable and what's not. Well, when it's done through this prism of ideology, it greatly accelerates the dismembering of Western society, whereas facts and evidence and reality prevent the globalists or slow the globalists down. Therefore, reality and facts have to be dismissed, and we're seeing that all around us today. You've been attached to us today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.